Okay, so we're up to Chaf Gimel Amid Beis, but let's give you a little hakdama about what we saw yesterday and a continuation into tonight. We saw yesterday that there's something called a karfif. There's something called a karfif. A karfif is a. Who's Jacob? So you can't get in. A karfif is an area that is not used to live in. You don't usually live in this area. It's not used to live in, and it's large. But it's large. So really, if you put up walls, it should have a din of Rosh Hashanah. But you're not putting up walls l'shem dira. You're just putting it up to protect whatever's there. So we said the maximum area that you can go ahead and carry in is Beis Hasayim. We said that's 5,000 square amas if you go after the dimensions of 100 times 50, or it's 44,993 and 7.9 if you go after what? The 23 by 723. Achloikas Rabbi Yosi and Rabbi Eliezer, whether you go after the triangle, go after the square. But let's go with 5,000 square. So now, if it's an area that's shalei hukif l'dira, if it's shalei hukif l'dira, meaning it's not surrounded for the purpose of residence, then the maximum share is Beis Hasayim, 5,000 squares. Anything more, you would not be able to carry it all. You would have a din of a carmelist, 4 amas, that's it. You would have a din of a carmelist, right? Good. That's what we established yesterday. What happens if the area is larger than Beis Hasayim and you hook it l'dira? In other words, I'm surrounding it for the purpose of residence. Then it has a full-fledged din of Rosh Hashanah and you could carry. Good. In other words, surrounding it to live in, it has a full-fledged din of Rosh Hashanah and therefore you should be able to carry. Okay, so now I'm gonna foreshadow the Gemara based upon the book. Based upon the what?
One house.
Not house has nothing to do with it. Rosh Hashanah is walls, 10 by 4. Again, you have to get out of the juvenile idea that Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Hashanah is a privately owned property. Rosh Hashanah is anything that's 10 tefachim high and 4 tefachim wide. That's Rosh Hashanah. Again, as we saw that in Dafav in Shabbos. Okay, so let's see what we got over here. Okay, you guys, I'm sure you can all see this. I'm getting better at this. Okay, here's page 65, number 65. Picture 65.
Page 57.
Page 57. Okay, here you have a karfif shu yosim mibeis hasayim shehukif l'dira. So in other words, this is you went ahead, you surrounded this, right? You sit next to them and look on. Go sit next to them and look on.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Take it, 57, 65. Now look, you surrounded this area for the purpose of residential. You can carry throughout the whole area, right? However, you went ahead and planted the majority of it. So by planting, you don't live among plants. So as soon as you planted, right? It's now hook of the deer anymore. So the whole place would be usher. Even the area you didn't plant. Why? Because remember picture 69. You have a chatzah katana going into a chatzah gedola. Any area that's nifretz al malaya to a makam that's usher, you're not able to carry. So now this area that you didn't plant is nifretz. It's opened up to an area that you planted. The area you planted, you can't live in. So memela, the whole place is usher. What happens next picture? What happens if you plant trees? Picture 66. Trees you can go ahead and live upon. Trees you can live in. Picture 66. You could live with trees. Therefore, even though it's rive trees, it still would be considered hukuf l'dira. It still would be hukuf l'dira. Okay. Now, we'll get to 67 soon. Okay. We'll have 2 people enter the waiting room. Okay, good. Oh no, that's not good. It's better. Stop sharing. Guys, good? Fellas, everyone's okay? You got what we're doing? Okay? You got what we're doing. Okay, let's see it inside. On Chaf Gimel, we're beginning Chaf Gimel Amid Beis. Okay. About 11 lines up. karfif shu yosim beis hasayim, a karfif that's more than 5,000 square amis, shahukaf ledira. So guys, everything's good, right? Guys, once you hook a fladira, you can live there, right? Everything's good, no problem. However, then nizra rubai, you planted the majority of it. Harihu kigina v'asar. It has a din of a gina, and it should be asar. It has a din of a gina, because why? Because since you can't live in a gina, so now it loses its shame dira by the fact you can't live in there. However, not the rubai. If not that, you plant trees. Harihu kichatzer umuta, and it's muta. Now, this had nothing to do with roif. It had to do with what you planted. When you planted seeds, and you can't live in your vegetable patch, so it loses its shame of a residence. However, if you plant an orchard, then it's not a problem. We didn't take into account roiv or not roiv, whether roiv is mevatel the other area or not. This is rubai amar of huna brei rishua lo yamaron ela yosim beis hasayim. Only if the plot that he planted was more than 5,000 square amas. Avo beis hasayim muta. But if he planted beis hasayim, in other words, the area of beis hasayim, then it would be muta. Kiman kireb shimin. In other words, if the area that he planted would be considered a karfif, then you'd have a karfif that's open to a chutzner. And Rabbi Shimon said a karfif that opens up to a chutzner is no problem. We saw this in the Masech. We saw it earlier in the Masechta, and we'll see it again. I'll just show you the picture of it. Here you go, guys. Take a look. It's picture 68. Picture 68. What page?
58.
Okay. You have a karfif that goes to a chutzner, that goes to a gag. If you would have a knife in there, guys, I'll tell you where we had it. In Pirkei De'Relez the Milah. Yeah, you'd bring the knife through the karfif, through the chutzner, to the gag, to the place that for the kid. That's where we had it. Good? So now, if it's a karfif going to a chutzner, if it's not rov, then like Reb Shimon, it would be muta, because it's a karfif rather than a carmelis. Guys, once it's more than beis hasayim, it's a carmelis. A karfif is, again, the area of 5,000 square amis. So if it's 5,000 square amis, it doesn't have a shem carmelis. It was hukaf l'dira. Then it would be permitted. Then it would be permitted. So that only if you hold like Rav Shimon. Only if you hold like Rav Shimon, it'll be permitted, because it's not a carmelis yet. Also, it's not more than beis hasayim. It's not more than 5,000. Again, you should get this. I repeated it enough. You should be able to get this stuff ready. Anyone have a problem yet? Oh, you're all muted. You're all quiet. Everyone's good. Okay, weiter. Reb Shkuai did not. Reb Shimon Aimer, as we just saw, echad gagos, whether it's roofs, the echad chatzeros, whether it's chatzeros, the echad karfifos, or whether it's what, it's back lots. Rishus achasein, they're all considered one rishus. Lekalim sheshifta b'seichai, to any kli that was outside before Shabbos. Reb Shimon's moed, guys, you can't take it from the house. It would have to be into the karf of the gag or the chutzner. But you can, for loyal kelim sheshifta b'toich but not kelim that were had shvisa when it was ben hashmashos, when Shabbos came in the house. Okay, says the Gemara, loyal kelim sheshifta b'toich habayis. Reb Shimon nami, okay, the Gemara. Reb Shimon nami, even the Nizra rubai, since you planted a majority, havi ahu miutai, then the chutzner part was a miyut. So why don't we say batalei legabe roiv? Babei karfif yosim beis hasayim yasa. This picture, let me get the picture up. Guys, even if this area, picture 67, even if this area was even, if it was, let's say, if it was even, right? No, that's not the right picture. This is the right picture. This is not the right picture. Actually, this is more. But let's say this is Roiv, right? No, this is the right picture. Guys, it's Roiv. You have Roiv now. 67. You wanted to say in picture 67, look, if picture 67 was less than 2,000, less than 5,000, then Rav Shimon would say it's okay. But since it's Roiv, why don't we say now that the chutzner is bottled to the karfif, and it should be asa to carry, because then it becomes yoisa mi beis hasayim. The roiv is exactly 5,000. But since the area that is planted with seeds is the majority of the whole chutzner, the minority of the chutzner should be what? Buttle to the area of the seeds. And even like Rich Shimon, it should be like that area is also planted. So in other words, you went from 5,000 to 7,000 because of the din of buttle, that it's the minority. So therefore, Fred the Gemara, so like Rav Hun Rav Shimon, it's not a great pshat, even like Rav Shimon. So therefore, the Gemara is going to have charata. I'm going to say you're going to learn the din on this picture 69. Here's picture 69. Over here, you have a majority of chutzner and a minority what of a plant. Let's see it inside. Eliitmar, 2 lines. Chavdalid. Eliitmar, hachiitmar. Hamiutai. If the plant is the miyat of the karfif, right? It's the miyat. Shari. Then it'll be permitted. So Amrav Huna Brave Yeshua loyamaran elad loyhavi beisasayim. It's only if it's not beisasayim. Avo beisasayim aser. But if it was beisasayim, that would be have a loch of a karfif. It would be aser. Kiman kirabanon. Guys, just keep your eyeballs on picture 69, and the guys on the guys in the daf over here present. Look at that area. That area looks like it needs a shave, right? That's a miyat, correct? It's a karfif. It's a karfif. It's 5,000 square amas. Good. Why, according to the Rabbanon, this is a karfif, this is a chutzner. So you have a shus that's open to a place of isser. The Rabbanon hold you can't go from a karfif to a chutzner. So it's usser. It's usser. It would have a din of a. Yeah,
when you walk in, it's a chutzner.
What do you mean?
When you go through that entrance, you're in the chutzner part.
Good. Why? Tell me why the chutzner is not a chutzner. Because it's nifratz b'meloyai to a place that's usser. It's nifratz b'meloyai to a place that's usser. It's guys. It's nifratz to the karfif. So therefore, then it's usser. So says the Gemara. That's provided that this is not a base asayim. Meaning, if it's less than 5,000, it's not a karfif. So it's not a karfif, it's a chutzner. Avo base asayim. But if that area, that hairy area, right, that looks like it needs a shave, is 5,000, it has a din of a karfif. Now, a karfif, it's also to carry. It's a din of right? According, it's low hook of the dira anymore, right? A low hook of the dira, and now it's open, so it's also. Keman karabanan, because it's 2 areas. Rav Yomi medifti masni lekula. He learns it lekula. Hamiut shari. Amar Rafuna Brei Yeshua le'amar and ela beis asayim. Abel Yosef beis asayim asa. Beis asayim would be mutta, but Yosef beis asayim would be asa. Keman karev Shimon. In other words, if it's karfif, going into that would be permitted. Because we're holding like Rav Shimon, you can go from a karfif to a chutzner. But if it's more than beis asayim, and therefore it has a din of a karmelis, even Rav Shimon would be maida. Okay, one of the din we said was the din of planting trees. We said if you plant trees, it's considered a makom medira. Okay, guys, outside. What are we discussing? Guys, what are we discussing? You have a area that's greater than 5,000 square amas. You surrounded it for residential purposes, which is great. You can carry through the whole thing, unless if you plant seeds. What happens if you plant trees? We said it doesn't lose its shame of residence because you can live among trees. So now the Gemara is going to explain that din. Says the Gemara, not a rubai, not this lashon of is for saplings. You plant the little trees. Harehu kechatzer. It has the din of a chatzer and mutter. It's not considered a karfif. It's mutter because why? It was hukaf ledira. Amar of Yehuda, Amar Avimi, for hu she'asuyin it's tabolis. That's provided that the trees are made it's tabolis. That the trees have the following configuration, guys. Look, you see, you can walk among them. Picture 70. The trees, picture 70. You can see that's considered a dira. It's you've ever seen camp where they have the trees manicured well, like the old camps, they do that. New camps, they don't have any trees because they have, baseball fields or soda machines to make money. But in the old camps, Tarvadas, I still remember there were lines of trees which you could walk up to. They were painted and stuff. But anyway, so you have over camp deal, $15. Anyway, so you have the So you have, when it looks like this configuration, fellas, that's when the trees, that's when it's considered a chutzner. Rav Nachman Ama'afal Pishaina Suin is tabolis, even if it's not. Rav Nachman disagrees with Rav Avimi. He says which way the trees are, even if the trees are not in such an order, even if they're disorderly trees, you still can go ahead and consider a dira, and it's not mevatel the fact that the Yosem Beis Hasayim was hukaf l'dira. It's still considered Rishus HaYachid and not a Karmelis. Okay, says the Gemara. Mar Yehuda ikla lebei Rav Huna bar Yehuda. Mar Yehuda came to the house of Rav Huna bar Yehuda, and Chazinu lahanud lo yavidi itztabolis. He saw that there were trees that were not made like itztabolis. They were disorderly. The kamatalti begavayo, and he was carrying among them. He was carrying among the trees. So Amalei, he said. So my Yehuda said, like Saval Amar Lahod Avimi. Don't you like Avimi? In order to carry in this area, it has to be trees that are itztabolis, that they're orderly. So Amalei, so Rav Huna bar Yehuda told him, I'm not Rav Nachman Svirle. I hold Rav Nachman that even if the trees are disorderly, it works. It doesn't have to be. It still has a shem dira. I'm Rav Nachman Shmuel. Karfif Yosem Beis Hasayim shaloi hukuf l'dira. Now you have a karfif Yosem Beis Hasayim shaloi hukuf l'dira. Guys, so what's the din? You can't carry, right? It's a Karmelis, right? It's more than 5,000, right? It's a Karmelis. It's not hukuf l'dira. What's the din? Okay, so he wants to know what's the din. So says the Gemara, listen, Keitzeru Oisa, what should he do? Pirates by Pirtz Yosem Yes. Now what's the case, guys? If you look at Rashi, Rashi tells you the case. You're missing one yediyah over here. Says Rashi, Karfif Yosem Beis Hasayim Shlahuk V'Dira, the Achakain Bona Etzlei Dira. You built a house. You built a house. And now, Vaminu come on, Hukif Shaloi L'Dira. If you go ahead and you surround it not for the purpose of a dira, and then it'll be safe Pasach Le Pesach, Dira Space Le Mahani. So guys, here's the problem. You took an area that was so large, you surrounded it with a fence for not the purpose of living there, not residential purposes. Afterwards, you put a house down. So now, obviously, we're putting a house down. You want it to be a residential purpose. But you can't undermine the original. Putting the house down doesn't undermine, okay, now it's hukuf l'dira. Since it was loy hukuf l'dira, it's still loy hukuf l'dira, right? So now we want to go ahead and figure out what can you possibly do to make this an area that you can go ahead and carry in rather than what? Rather than being a Carmelist and you can't carry 4 amas. So what should you do? What should you do? Says the Gemara. What should you do? I'll tell you what you do. Inside the Gemara. Go ahead, picture 71 is right in front of you. Make a pirza, a hole in the fence, more than 10. What does a pirza do, guys, when it's more than 10? It's mevatel the mechitza. Right? More than 10, it's mevatel the mechitza, right? Okay, so now, and vigadroi umamidoi aleser, and then bring it back to 10. So you will have recreated the wall. You would have taken off the shaloi hukuf l'dira, and now it's hukuf l'dira. Very, very nice, right? Very nice. You could do that. What about this? Poretz ama v'godar ama, poretz ama v'godra. Ad she'eshlimu li'osamei esama. What's the din? Now, you have a wall, so you took off one and you built one. You took off one, picture 72. You took off one and you built one. You took off one and you built one. And so you can't, at one point in time, you will have covered the area more than 10 amas. However, it never was open 10 amas at one time. You would have used the same amount of cement to go in and fill an area of 10 amas. However, it was never at one time was it what? Never at one time was it considered open totally. But if you would go ahead and look at it completely, then it would be considered open. What's the din? Now we're gonna have a Gemara now. We had the exact same Gemara in Shabbos. You had this Gemara a few times. The answer is going to be, guys, that it's considered a pirza. The answer is going to be it's considered a pirza. Outside, If I'd ask you to wake up in the middle of the night and say, if you have a kli that is tameh, and you have to make a hole in it to take off the tumah, if you're about bus, what's the share? You'd all tell me, Rabbi Stern, get out. You're waking me up for this. But after that, you would probably say, as long as it's
Remind him.
remind him. There you go. As long as remind him. Remind him. Up until the share of a rimon falling out of the kli, a balabas will keep it. He'll have rachmanis on it. Once it gets to the size of a rimon, then what? Once it gets to the size of a rimon, then it's tahar. Why? Because the balabas is going to throw it out. So it lost a shem kli. What about if you go ahead, Zayas? You never at one time had the share of rimon. Zayas filled it in, made a hole, filled it in, made a hole, filled it in. So in other words, the exact same case we're giving over here. Not at one time did you ever have a hole of a rimon, but if you put the whole equation together, you would. Just as over here, if you put the whole equation together, you'll have a pirza of yud. So just like over there, so if it's rimon, you're going to say it's tahar. Over here, you're going to say that it is a good pirza. And we're going to bring in the inevitable zav. You can't go too many bat without learning about a zav, right? That's what you learn in Shas. You have to know about nidras. So we're going to see this very, very interesting, this case over here, where a person, where you lost on the shoe, right? Is it the shoe? You lost one, it's tahar. You reattach it, and you lose the other one, then it's tameh. It's two, and the answer is panach chadashos balakan. So you see the same concept over here, that since at one, even though you have one attached now, since at both times they were both disattached, it would lose its shame. It would lose its shame sandal, and therefore it would be not tummy tumas midras anymore. The same concept we saw by pomegranate, and the same concept we're going to apply to our pirza in the wall. Let's see inside the Gemara. Ibailahu. Paritz Amma v'gaderama. He went ahead and knocked down an Amma and he was gathered. Paritz Amma v'gadra. Until he ended up being more than 10. Now, what's the din? Do you go after the fact that it was never 10 at one time at pirza, or do you go to the fact that in fact, if you go collectively, all of them it is? Amalei, lav haimrit nan, kol kli bal batim, all kalim of a balabas, shiurim kirimonim. The shear is the size of a rimon. We said of a uman, it's uman's not going to sell even, it's less of a hole. But for a balabas, it has a shame kli up until rimon. Uboy Chizkiah, who was the Rabbi of Rabbi Yochanan, asked him, Nikev kimoitzi zayis v'sasmai, v'chazav nikev moitzi zayim v'sasmai, ad sheshlim l'moitzi rima mahu. If you go ahead and make the hole the size of a zayis, fill it in, make another hole the zayis, fill it in, until collectively you would go ahead and have the share of a rima. What's the din? This is what Chizkiah asked his share. Rabbi Yochanan piped up, Rabbi, shenisna lanu, you taught us sandal shenifska achas mi'osnav, a sandal that one of its parts broke, vitikna, and you corrected it, tamei midras. Again, if you're a zav and you're walking on your shoe, the shoe is going to be tamei tumis midras, meaning it will be considered an avatuma. Just like this, in other words, it doesn't go down a shear. It's an avatuma in adam kalim. Because again, any kli that a natural pressure is put upon, a chair, a bed, right, a chair, a bed, a shoe, that the zav puts pressure on, is matama tumis midras. So if it loses one of its ears, it's still considered a shoe, and it's tamei. Nifsaka shniya. Now you reattach the first one, and now you go ahead and the second one's nifsaka, betikna, and you matakin it. Tahar, it's tahar. Mina midras. Aval tami magamish. We tami a rishon l'toma. Let's stay away from that now. So Amar Allah, ma'ishna rishona dehakaim shniya. Shniyanami hakaim rishona. Guys, when the first one it was tamei, why? Because still have the second one. So when the second one's nifsak, you have the reattached first one, right? So what's the difference? And you, Chizkiah, told us, Allah, panim chadashos bolakan. It's a whole new panim. It's a whole new part. In other words, they're both disattached, they're both reattached, therefore it's tar. So hachanami, by the rimon, panim chadashos bolakan. Panim chadashos came over here, right? Zayas filled in, Zayas filled in, Zayas filled in. Who adin by a shaila of pirza? I'm a filled in parts, I'm a filled in, Aaron parts, I'm a filled in. So who adin? So Kari Allah said, Rabbi Yochanan, said Chizkiah, less stain bar inish. This person, Rabbi Yochanan, he's not a boss of a dam, he's a malach. He came up with this, he's a malach. Din Barnash. Others say no, he's a person, and any person who's not like him is like a chamar. Remember we had the Gemara in Shabbos, right? So that's the other musavar. Guys, so we push the shaila. Guys, we push the shaila. If you go ahead, open, close, open, close, open, close, so you get periods of 10, it would be considered what? It'll be considered as if it is open, and therefore hukuf ledira, and therefore you can carry in the area more than 5,000. Okay. Amrav Kahana, rochba shachuri abatim. You have a back lot achuri abatim. Okay, let's. I think we have a picture over here.
81.
What?
81.
There you go. Picture 81, guys. Picture 81. You have right now. Obviously, it must be more than base asayim. It must be a base asayim, right? It's more than base asayim. So as a din of a carmelis, you can only carry 4 amas. Picture 81. You can only carry 4 amas, guys. It's a carmelis. It's a carmelis. You can only carry 4 amas. That's it. So now, what happens if you go ahead and open a door? Picture 82, guys. You see? What's the difference between that picture and this picture, right? Now, you put that Pesach there, but you got a problem, right? Can you go ahead and carry in there? Because it was hook of Shlois Same Dira. No, the building, of course, you can carry in that lot. In the lot, you can't carry the pin because it was not surrounded with Dira. Look, initially there was no door there. You couldn't get there. You see that? And it wasn't residential. Look at picture 81. There's no door. It was just a back lot. You didn't use it. You didn't live in there. So therefore, I didn't have a carmelis, and you're limited to 4 amas. However, let's say you decide you want to go ahead and use it. You make a door. Making the door does not go ahead and make it residential. You still have to do something else, as we're going to see. Says the Gemara. You have this back lot in the back of the house. You can only carry you can only carry 4 amas. What? What number?
7
You made a ticket. You made a ticket over there. There, what? Over here.
It's no good. It's still no good.
Right. Okay. So now, impossibly Pesach mutal talta bakula. Why? Because Pesach matiroi. If you put a door there, you can carry to the whole thing. Only if the door came first. Aval hukuf b'slei Pesach loy, right? But if you put the door there, you put the surrounding area there, and then the door, it's going to be the same case as we had before, where you had to go ahead and fool around with the fence to make a hole in it. Again, once it's hukif shaloi l'shem dira, you got to take down that fence. So that Pesach, if the Pesach was there first, guys, and then you surrounded it, then you can carry throughout the whole thing. However, if you surrounded it and then the Pesach came, you won't be able to carry through the whole thing. Says the Gemara, Pesach l'b'slei hukif pshita. If the Pesach's there first and then you surround it, of course it's pashit, right? Like tzricha the ispei beidari. What happens is there was other stuff in there. There was other stuff in the lot. Picture 683, page 62, picture 83. You had other stuff in the lot. So you might have thought, even though you had a door there, maybe when you put this fence around afterwards, it's for the purpose of protecting the produce. Kamash Malon, since you had a door there, that's right, Ladira, it's considered Ladira. Good? Next. Maybe you put up the walls for the purpose of the Beidari for the produce. Kamash Malon. New case. Karfif Yosim Beis Asayim, Shahukaf Ladira. Guys, that's great, right? No problem. More than 5,000. Once you hook it for Dira, what is it called? Rishus HaYachid. Everything's cool. However, when it's Mali Mayan, now it fills up with water. So does the water, picture 84, does the water now go ahead and take off the lose the same Dira? Maybe you can't carry there. Savra Banal Meimar. Now, what? Oh, now here's the question. Beautiful. Good. Guys, look at me. Look, here's the Shaila. We can view the water coming in to a place that was Rishus HaYachid. We can view it like plants. We said if you were hookif, it's a Rishus HaYachid. What happens if you put now rows of plants We said it loses its shem dira. Or no, I can view it like trees. And even though once you're hooking for the dira and trees are there, then what? Then you could. Okay, so that's the dialogue over here. Do we view it like zroyim and it's asal taltel, or do we view it like trees and it's mutal taltel, that it doesn't lose its shame of a residence? Says the Gemara. It's like zroyim v'asar. Just like if you plant, it loses its shem dira. Who had been over here by the water, it'll lose its shem dira. V'asar. Amalu Rav Abba Achua the Rav, the brother of Rav the Rav Berei the Rav Mishashia Rav Mishashia Hachi Amina Mishmei the Rava Mayim Kinatayim Damu. Mayim has the din of Nitayim. It has the din of trees. Shari and it's and what and it's permitted. Amar Ameimar v'hu the Chayzon Tashmishay that you're able to drink the water. Says Rashi Chayzon Tashmishay l'shtia. In other words, you're saying to yourself, what do you mean you can't live there? Yeah, but guess what? You drink the water, fellas. Remember, yesterday we had the shita of Rav Yehuda Bar Eloi. If it's 5,000 and slow hook for the dira, if you have a pit in there for water, that's enough to make it ladira. So you see, the concept of drinking water makes it more residential. So therefore, Amema qualifies this din of Rava that we consider it like you planted trees, despite the fact that it's more than 5,000, and you hook it for dira. It doesn't lose its shem dira, provided you can go ahead and drink the water, because that keeps it the shem dira. But if the water was untenable, you couldn't go ahead and drink the water. It was not potable, I guess is the word. And then in that situation, it would lose its shem dira, and it would be considered. It would lose a karfif. Avaloi chazon dira loy. Amar Avasi. Okay, now Rav Ashi is going to bring in a Gemara in Shabbos that we brought in. The Gemara in Shabbos said, if this area, picture 85, if this area, I lost it. Oh gosh. No, I'm going to be back in a step.
H68. Twelve more.
Sorry. I think we should be there in a second. Okay. Yeah. He wants to say that there's a difference if picture 85, if there's a depth here of 10 tfachim, even though the water is potable, then it would lose its shame. It would lose its shame. Right? Then lose its shame. But people are going to disagree with him. Amar Vashi udchayzim tashmishi namile amaran el shame ba'omek yosim be'sasayim of 10 tfachim. Aval yesh ba'omek yosim be'sasayim asar. B'lav milsi is not true. Midi dahavi akira de peri. Maybe it's like akira de peri. Guys, picture 88. That even if it has an oimek over there, since you could put Paris into there, it's still considered royal ladira. So you can go down and get it. It's royal ladira. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. I'll keep on doing this. Okay. Yeah, right. 90 penny. We give you penny. There you are.
This is Penny in the mountains.
Yeah, okay. And picture 90 is Penny's favorite picture. That's Penny in his bungalow. There you go. There's another. Okay, fine. Okay, now we get a mamish halacha l'maisa case. Guys, put your eyeballs on picture 91. Huh? Okay, good. Let's start at the top. Rishus Rabim. on Aleph is a Tzuras Pesach. Mendy, you're going to waste your time unless you go and look at him. You really got to see this. You got to have great eyeballs to see that. Yoni, you got your book? No, so you got to Yoni, or else it's nice to sit again. You got to see this. Yoni, look at picture by page. Give him the book. Yoni, go get the book. Page 63, and look at picture 90. Page 63. Look at picture 90. Okay, you have picture 91. Okay. Okay, yeah, 91. Now, starting at the top, you have Rishus Rabim, you have a Mavui going into a Rachba, through a Shvil in a Kerem, into a river. Now, what is this? This is your classic Mavui Mefulish, fellas, right? This is an open Mavui on two ends. We learned early in the Masechta, in order what you have to do, you have to put it Tzuras HaPesach at one end. So if you look at the top of the page, you see the Aleph, guys? That's the Tzuras HaPesach. That goes ahead and makes it now 3 walls. Now, in fact, it has 4 walls, because if you go to it empties into a river, guys. The river bank is 10 tfachim. So therefore, it's fully closed. It's closed by Rosh Hashanah, by Tzuras HaPesach. It's closed by the bank of the river, by the... Okay, so what's the big shaila? Everything is great, right? Everything is great. The answer is you can't carry it in any of these places. Why? Because you have a rachba in the middle that's more than Beis Hasayim that was not hook of Ladira. In other words, you have a Carmelist sitting right in the middle of this. The rachba is a Carmelist. It's more than Beis Hasayim. It's more than 5,000. It wasn't hook of Ladira, right? So now you can't carry the mavoy and you can't carry the shvil. So what do you do? So he asked the buyer, what do you do over here to permit carrying? What do you do? What's the eitzah to permit carrying over here? That was the shaila post to Rav and Abaye. That was the shaila. Right? So now, Abaye came up with an eitzah. Let's put it Tzuras HaPesach by the shvil. Let's put it Tzuras HaPesach, picture 93. Put a Tzuras HaPesach at the opening of the shvil to the kerem. Right? The problem is, the camel is going to come and knock it down. You have Joe Camel. You see Joe Camel? Man, you see the head sticking out there? He's going to come and knock it down. So he said, so let's put a lechi there. Picture 94. Let's put a lechi there. Picture 94. It's a small thing. The camels won't knock it down. So why don't you do that? Why don't you do that now? This would be great. You know why? Abaya holds that a lechi is mishum mechitza. You close that off. You closed it off, and now it's considered hook of the dira by you making that wall there with the lechi. So the chayri should be able to carry. Rava doesn't like this. He says Rava, people aren't going to realize that there's a river bank over there, as we'll see. We'll see his problem. So Rava's eighth is going to be, guys, picture, I don't know what number that is. Picture 95, I guess. You're going to put the lechi at the beginning of the mavui, and that's going to permit it. Okay. Let's see the case inside. Everything's got to be better rough bash.
No, because the other one, 94, we tried to build.
Watch, let's go. Let's see it inside. Says the Gemara. Let's see. Hahi Rachba, there was this back lot, the Havi B'Pumnara, that was in the town of Pumnara. The Chad Gisavi Pasiach Lamasa, one open to the street, the Rishus Rabim. The Chad Gisavi Pasiach L'Shvil Shel Kramim, and the other one, in other words, one the Rachba opened up to the Mavui that led into the Rishus Rabim, and the other one up into a Shvil, to a road that led to a Kerem. Ushvil Shel Karamim having Salik Leguda Dinara, and the Shvil Shel Narim, it emptied into the riverbank. So now the Gemara doesn't say anything about its Tzuras HaPesach. Rashi threw that in there. Tzuras HaPesach, because once it had a din of Mavi Mefulish, of course you need a Tzuras HaPesach, right? When the Mavi is open at two ends, the only way to make it closed is a Tzuras HaPesach. You can't put a Lechi B'Koyer there and a Lechi B'Koyer there. You need a Tzuras HaPesach, which makes a wall. That's given. That's given. Good? Now, so Rashi says you went ahead, you put a Tzuras HaPesach. So now, what could you do over here? Amar Baya, hey Chinavid, what should we do to mat the carrying? Now again, remember, the Mavoi and the Shvil are opening up into a place that's Asa. So you have the problem of difference b'maloyai l'makom ha'asar. So therefore, you won't be able to carry the mavoi, and you won't be able to carry the shvil because you got a carmelis in the middle. So what should you do? Never le mechitza agudu nahara, to put a mechitza on the gudu nahara. Einos mechitza gabi mechitza. You don't make a mechitza on top of a mechitza. Ula avalei tzuras pesach apum shvil shel kramim. To put it tzuras pesach on the shvil of the kramim. Asi gamle shadni later. Gemalim are going to come along and they're going to knock it down. They're going to go in and knock it down. El Amar Rabbi, what should you do? La'avid lechi apiska the shvil shel kramim. Put a lechi at the pesach shvil kramim. Now listen to this, guys. The migoy the mahanya l'shvil shel kramim, since it permits the shvil shel kramim, mahani nami l'rachba. Now, you were used to saying migo, right? Believe me, this migo I could have timed it down. Migo, guys, listen, look at me. You have, let's view the shvil as a mavui that has 3 walls. You got the walls of the kerem. You have in the back, you have the aguda of the nahar. What do you do with a mavoi that has 3 walls? You either put a koira or what? A lechi. So by putting the lechi at the opening of the shvil, you've made the shvil kosher. Says the Gemara, migo that you helps, the lechi helps for the shvil, it also makes the rachba a place that's not us. That again, it's not, again, let's see the lumbus. Rashi says the lumbus. The migo, the mahani l'shvil, the taltaboy, the loyhavi hashta paritz the carmelis. No longer is it paritz to a carmelis. You closed it off. Mahani nami l'rachba liyos hekef l'dira. Now it's considered baruch hekef l'dira. V'yatirenu l'taltaboy, and you were able to carry in the rachba. Guys, you got it. This is a beautiful case because it's bringing in all of the ideas we've been discussing. Outside. Look at me outside. You're all going to get it. Given picture 69, you have a chutza katana going into a chutza gedayla. It opened on Shabbos. You can't carry in the chutza katana because they never made a eruv with the chutza gedayla. So it's considered a place that's paritz b'maloa to a place that's asa. That is given. Again, people seem to forget that Allah and Eruvin. If you're open to a place that, guys, you have a driveway. Why in the world, if you have a driveway, which is your Rishus HaYachid, why can't you carry in your driveway? And the answer is because it's paritz to the street. So what do? You put it through Pesach. No, it's paritz to the street. That's what you got to do. Got it. So now it's beautiful. You have a problem. You have a shvil. It is open to a rachba. This rachba was like hukaf ledira. Let's call it what it is. Let's rename it. It's called carmelis. The halacha of a carmelis, we give it the chumrah of Rishus Rabim and the chumrah of Rishus Yachid. Again, this is all information I've been hacking the last few days. It's like a Rishus Rabim, you're limited to carrying 4 amis. It's like a Rishus Yachid, like Rishus Rabim, you can't carry from it to another place or from another place to it. So in Mela, you got a problem. You can't carry in the shvil of the kerem, nor in the mavei lamas. You can't carry there. Why? Because this is open up to a carmelis. So what are you doing? You're going ahead. You're taking a lechi and you're putting it at the beginning of the shvil. What does it do? It makes the shvil now a closed area. It makes it into Rishus HaYachid. But the lechi does later baya. It's mechitza. So now you have an area that's closed on 4 sides. You got the bank of the river in the back. You got the walls of the kerem, and now you have the lechi in the front. Says the Gemara Chiddush, migu that this lechi is machadish, that this is Rishus HaYachid. It also considered making a wall in the rachba, and now it's hukaf ledira. How are we doing? Yes? Get the reaction. Okay, thank you. Okay, my son understands that we can go on. I don't care. Now, weiter. Guys, the rest of you guys is nice, but there's a mitzvah with teaching. I think this Gemara says Talmidim Harihen Kibanim. So I'm stuck. Okay. Joe, you got it? Joe Greenwald. I can't hear a word you're saying, which is good usually. Good, man. Okay, good. That's the Gemara. Okay, tells you everyone's got to go. This is Torah. Amalei Rava, Yomru lechi moyel l'shvil shel kramim the alma. They won't know, guys. Fellas, guys. Why is this lechi help? Because you have 4 walls, right? Where's the back wall? Are people going to see that there's a wall there? What are they going to think? A lechi can go ahead and matter a mavim foolish. They're not going to know that there's a back wall. They're not going to know there's a back wall. So, Abaya, I agree with you in the lumdis. I agree with you in Migu. What I don't agree with you is the eitzah of putting that lechi in a place where people can make a mistake is the way to matter this. Because they're not going to know there's a back wall. It's kishmak is anything, right? So where's Rabbi say to put it, guys? Put it by the mavoi. Because what's on the other end of the mavoi? Of Tzuras HaPesach. No, so you know it's going to be 3 sides closed. And then you'll have the same migu. Migu that the lechi helps for the mavoi, it helps for the rachba. And that's beautiful. Then the shvil is open to a place that's not a carmelist. It's open for dira. Beautiful. It's a beautiful case because it takes in all the concepts, guys, that we put together. Let's see it inside. Amalei Rava. Yomru, if you put the lechi by the shvil, they'll say lechi moyel shvil shel kramim the alma. They won't realize there's a back wall that is 3. They'll think it's 2. El Amarava avdinu le lechi le pischa de masa. Make it for the there by the mavoi. The migu de mahani le lechi le masa, and there they won't make a mistake because it's Tzuras HaPesach. Mahani nami le rachba. Hilkach, okay. Hilkach therefore tetuli b'masa gufa shari. Tetuli b'rachba gufa shari. Masa l'rach and rachba masa pligi. But Rav Acha Ravina to carry from the masa to the mavoi back and forth, to the rachba to the mavoi back and forth. That's malachas. Ravina chad asa v'chad shari. Man de shari the halakha the urine. The one that says permitted, because there's no urine that are living that to aser. Says Rashi, sheyosu al b'nei mavoi. There's no one in the rachba. Hilkach rishus b'nei mavihu. B'nei shvili asriel. In other words, it's not open to a place that's asa. No one to make an eruv with. Man de asa zinin the havi b'di urine. The asa is too late. The urine there you may come to carry without making an eruv. I thank you all for listening. All right. Have a great evening.